nice. Thank you. My goodness. Oh. How lovely. Thank you. You're going to wear yourselves out. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
They love you.
Would you like to go around again?
No. I just realized that in looking at Betty that she's been in the business 40 years. I've been in the business 32. We represent somebody's whole lifetime.
Isn't it wonderful? Aren't you thrilled about it? My husband used to say I was a pioneer in silent television.
Her relationship with her, I know, not bad.
Wonderful.
Her relationship with her husband, Alan Ludden, was probably one of the strongest of Hollywood marriages. So we are going to go back and we are going to find out where the lady got her strength. I might even ask that you put children in front of the television set. Besides her spicy mouth, I think they will get a very good role model today from our guests. Can we start with your parents?
Oh, I
that where
would
it
love to
comes
start
from?
with my parents. I lucked into two of the best parents that anybody ever had. I was an only child, and my mother was a housewife. My father was a salesman for an electrical company. When they were married, he grew up in the company, but they never talked down to me. They never, said, well, we'll tell you later, Betty's here now. They always dealt me in as a full-fledged member of the group. If I didn't catch on to something, that was my problem, and I would just lope along until I caught on to what they were saying. Dad would bring his jokes home and tell us both his jokes. The only thing he would add is...
Wait, both his jokes?
Well, no, I mean, he would tell both, my mother and me, both of us, he would tell the jokes to, and then he'd say, sweetheart, we don't take that one to school. We just leave that one on here. That's nice. But they were such fun, and they were deep out. Everybody says, where does your love of animals come from? And it came right from them. I was the lucky little kid who had parents who'd say, Betty, we found him on the way home. He followed us home. Can we keep him? Oh, they were so
What interests as a child, Betty? What were you like as a little girl?
Probably a bit of a tomboy. We would pack into the High Sierras every year. And I loved Christmas. Christmas was great, but I lived my whole year for packing in. We'd take horses and pack up the mules and pack up over the top of near Mount Whitney. And at that time, you couldn't drive in. There were no condos or anything like that up there. And we'd keep the horses, and we'd stay in there for 3 weeks. And my best friends were bears and chipmunks and that kind of thing. It was wonderful. So I think that's where the nature love came in.
But you grew up in Hollywood?
Los Angeles, yeah.
People grow up in Los Angeles?
They do. They really do. And I know if I went out there now, I'd probably say all the same things that other people say about it. It's like people who live in New York say, oh, my, I hate New York. Except the people who grew up there see it through memory's eyes. They don't see it as the place that it is grown up. We've all grown up and busier and older and faster. Los Angeles was lovely. I remember when the air was clear, where you could see clear across forever.
They say that you can't be somebody as successful, whether or not that is so, that's the appearance, as Betty, without being angry at something, and usually angry when you're a child, like, I'm going to show them. That's not true?
Quite the reverse. I mean, I'm not kidding when I say I had the happiest childhood that ever happened. What was to be angry? My parents adored me. I had a house full of animals that I adored. We all had a great time together. If you get angry about things like that, you're looking for trouble. I get mad at people sometimes who go through life angry. I think it's a big excuse to blame everything on somebody else. I think you got to take your own shot at it.
I never thought I'd get the chance to say this. Coming up, Betty White, her love life. We'll be right back.
Disappointed.
I'd know that voice anywhere.
That's hard. That's real fun.
You said you asked for some tapes, and I grabbed them at home in a hurry and sent them to you without looking at them, and that was a surprise. It was a lovely one. Thank you, Sarah.
If the hardest thing in the world probably is to tell one's love story, but I think people do it best in their own words. You would, certainly.
Oh, he was such a, I mean, he was so special that he was doing Password. He had just started Password. So the third week Password was on the air. I was asked to do the show, and he was so warm and so nice and so sweet, and I didn't see him even between shows, just on the air. He was as nice as he could be. That summer, that was in October, that summer, they booked us in to do summer stock up in Cape Cod. And he came out a little before that because the show we were going to do, Critics' Choice, was running in Los Angeles, and he came out for us to go see the show. So that night when he picked me up, he said something, and I made up some stupid joke. I said, well, wait till your wife hears that, because this was a business date. And that's when I found out that his wife had died the week I was doing Password for the first time. It was just one of those strange coincidences. And she went exactly the way that Alan ultimately went. She was ill for a long, long time with that monster cancer, and that was the week that he lost her. So it was, the pattern repeated itself later on. But then by the time we did summer stock, and
but wait, when you saw him on the television for the first time on Password, just, that's a nice man? Nothing?
I was going so steadily with somebody at that time, I thought I was happy as a lark.
Oh,
I was
so
going,
that's where the thump was.
Phil Cochran, who Milt Caniff based Flip Corkin of Terry and the Pirates on Phil Cochran, and Jack Parr had introduced us in front of America on the show, and it took, and we had been going together for 4 years. And Phil said, I don't like Alan Ludden. I said, everybody likes Alan Ludden. Don't be silly. He said, I don't. He said, Irene, so he came up to Cape Cod to see the show, and there was a big love scene at the end of the show, and where my husband kisses me. Alan was playing my husband. Well, that was the longest, warmest kiss you ever saw in your life, because Alan knew Phil was in the audience, and he really played it. So from about the 4th row, I heard, and so Phil told me that night, he said, I just lost you. I said, don't be ridiculous. You know, this is just work. And
did you believe that?
I did at that time, but Alan soon started, instead of, hello, how are you, will you marry me? You know, and at first I thought it was a joke, and he just would not give up.
Could you describe him to somebody if they said, what was Alan Ludden like? What would you say?
He was the most honest man I know, and to the point that it would make me giggle. Whatever came in here with Alan would come right out here. There was no dissembling. There was no mental editor where a little tact would come in. Well, you don't want to say that in front of somebody. You know, somebody'd say, whisper him a secret, say, oh, I hear you're going with so-and-so, and it would come right out. No, Alan, you don't do it that way. But he had a quick temper, very quick temper with everybody outside. Not at home, but outside. And he'd blow up, and then 2 seconds later, he was so sorry, and he'd apologize all over himself. Momentarily, the damage had been done. He would apologize and then do something super nice for that person. And everybody'd say, and how can you, he's got such a quick temper and you're so nice. And Alan would say, she's so nice to everybody else. Sure, at home she blows her stack. I'd go home and something would be frustrating me, and I'd throw my shoes down and I'd throw my purse down, and he'd say, oh, I wish the world could see sweet little Betty White.
What happened to him? He got cancer?
Yes, he started feeling lousy, and he was feeling lousy for about 6 months, and he had all kinds of tests. And his temperature kept shooting up, and then it would level off, and then it would shoot up. And he went to several doctors who tried to find, and they couldn't. Finally, he went in for a test, and CAT scans. He'd had 3 CAT scans, didn't show a thing. Finally, he tried a thing called a gallium scan. I didn't even know what gallium was. And it showed a hot spot where it was, not what it was, but relatively where it was, and it was a hot spot. So he had to have surgery. Well, when they got in there, they found out it was much more extensive than they could do anything about. So they gave us, at that point, they said, well, it'll be about a year. And we could have done several things. We could have just thrown our heads down on the table and cried and left each other, you know, miserable. We lived with it for a little while, and we both determined that we were going to have as good a time as we possibly could. And right about that time, we read Norman Cousins' Anatomy of an Illness. And you know how things reach you. They touch the right spot. We decided, okay, let's go for it. We were halfway through building a beautiful home in Carmel, right on the water. That had been a dream of ours since we had gotten married. And we were halfway through building it, and we said, we're going to finish the house, we're going to do the whole number. And we had, it's hard to believe, we had a good time. We had a wonderful time, and Alan had a few good months of feeling pretty good. Then he had what was tantamount to a stroke while we were up in Carmel one time, and from then on he didn't feel so good, but he got through that. They told me he never would, but he got through it. Well, he saw the house finished, and he slept there 2 nights. And that's why that place is my happiest home. I don't mean to belabor it, and I sound like the corny philosopher, but it's true. You can cite yourself in or out of things so easily, and if we had just thrown up our hands, we would have ruined the whole last almost 2 years of our marriage with, you know, he would have died every single day. That's why we didn't tell anybody he was ill.
You didn't?
Because everybody would look at him and wait to see the changes and stuff, so he just played it by ear. And I've never regretted that for a minute.
We're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back and see what we call in our business clips from the many TV shows that Betty White has done.
Girls, if you watch it, fortunately the kids, I think some of those lines go right over their heads with any luck. But in the beginning, when we first started, I mean, married people didn't sleep in the same bed, and you watched every word you said, and you had to be very, very careful that there was no double entendre at all. As a matter of fact, even up to the Mary Tyler Moore show, Mary had split with her boyfriend, but she was not divorced. Divorce was something they more or less avoided. There were lots of no-nos about things like that, and the bars have really come down with a vengeance, whether for better or for worse, I don't know, but it's certainly different.
Who are you closest to that were on the Mary Tyler Moore show? Which one of those people?
Well, Mary and I are best friends, and we're long before the show. Mary was married to Grant Tinker at that point, who was Alan's best friend.
Whoa.
So when Alan and I were going to be married, the first people he brought me to meet were Grant and Mary. I think he probably was getting their approval. I don't know, but it was...
Was that difficult during their divorce?
No,
for you?
No, they are two such classy people that it's such a lovely arrangement that you're able to maintain a friendship with both of them. I'm friends, deep friends with Mary and Dr. Levine, Robert, her husband, and with Grant and Melanie, his lady. And there's no friction on it at all. We are all just, when you love somebody, you love them because of what they are, not, well, if you're going to be married to my friend, yes, but if not, no.
Tell us about Rose on Golden Girls. Talk about her, because she's so much you, but what about her?
I didn't think she was, Sally. I really thought I was Sue Ann Nivens. I was sure I was Sue Ann Nivens. But there's an awful lot of Rose in Betty. I tell long, boring stories. I want everything to have a happy ending. I believe that everything's going to turn out swell. It's scary there's so much Rose in me. But I like her because she's not dumb. She's just a little naive.
Let's watch a clip from Golden Girls.
Oh, girls, we have a big problem.
What is it, Blanche?
Well, we're all women.
No.
Sure we are, Dorothy.
Oh, shut up,
I'm reading the Spot book on baby care, and he says it's very important for a young child to have a male role model around during its formative years. Now, what are we going to do?
We'll all wear Yankee caps and scratch our behinds after every beer.
Oh, Blanche, we don't have anything to worry about. If we give that baby love and attention and understanding, it'll turn out fine.
That's beautiful.
Besides, what does Spock know about raising babies? On Vulcan, all the kids are born in pods.
know this is a long shot, but did you take much acid during the 60s?